Hi guys! In this video I'm going to present a list of 10 sets that I personally consider the most important LEGO Technic sets of all time. And by most important I don't mean the sets that I like the most or the most acclaimed sets. I mean sets that have had a major impact on the evolution of the entire LEGO Technic team, which in practice means a lot of firsts. I'm going to discuss each entry in detail and explain my reasons for choosing that particular set, but of course feel free to disagree and to discuss my choices in the comments. Because with well over 400 Technic sets in existence, the choice is anything but easy. The list starts with a motorbike. Motorbikes have been present in the Technic line since almost the very beginning. The line launched in 1977 and already in 1979 we got the 85-7 motorbike with a sidecar set sporting 409 pieces, an impressive number at that time. There have been dozens of Technic motorbikes since then, but the 42063 started something new. Developed in partnership with the BMW company, it was the first licensed motorbike set, meaning that it was modeled after a specific real bike with the approval of the manufacturer. Technic fans were excited that it would be the first licensed motorbike of many, and the LEGO company would not disappoint them. Speaking of 1977 and the beginning of the Technic line, it has begun with quite a bang in form of the 85-3 auto chassis set, which can be considered the grandfather of all LEGO Technic supercars. I mean, it may look primitive by today's standards, but it already featured an engine with moving pistons, a 2-speed manual transmission, and seats that could have been moved forward or backward using gears. Future Technic supercars would add many more features, but the core functionality, including the piston engine and the transmission, was already there, already 43 years ago. Seeing as the LEGO Technic line is all about models of the real machines, it's hard to believe that the first Technic set with an actual license from a manufacturer of real machines only came out in 2013. The 32030 set featured a wheel loader modeled after the Volvo L350F with Volvo's official permission. It was also distinguished by introducing the largest single-piece LEGO bucket made so far and by being one of the few fully remotely controlled power function sets. But I think the license was the biggest novelty here. I mean, back then, who would expect that a couple of years down the line it would be hard to find a Technic set without a license? It's fair to say that for most of its history, LEGO never really had any official line of Technic supercars. They just made a big sport car with a lot of functions every couple of years. Things changed in 2016 with the arrival of the 42056 set licensed by Porsche. It was the first licensed Technic supercar. It sported an impressive 1:8 scale and a complex transmission, and back then it made a huge impact with its size, its complexity and its hefty price tag. It was followed by two more sets so far, the Bugatti Chiron and the Lamborghini Sian, and each of them would raise the bar in terms of complexity, functionality and again the price tag. I bet in 10 or 20 years people will be selling complete series of 1-8 Technic supercars, starting with this very set, for a price of a kidney or two. Number 6 on my list is the 8851 Excavator set, which was the Technic flagship of 1984. It was the first Technic excavator and the second LEGO set to include trucks, but most importantly, it included the first LEGO pneumatic system with a pump, valves and cylinders, which allowed to move two sections of the digging arm and the bucket. The bucket, by the way, was the first single-piece specialized LEGO bucket piece. The excavator itself was fairly simple, and the first generation of the pneumatics would be quickly replaced by the second one. But there was no turning back. LEGO builders fell in love with pneumatics and demanded more of it. The 8275 was a breakthrough for many LEGO builders, including me, because it introduced the power function system. I remember the excitement of waiting for this set and the amazement at being able to finally control a LEGO set remotely without any wires. Back in 2007, it seemed like a revolution in the world of LEGO, and the set went on to win a number of prizes for innovations. It was also the first set to introduce 5 studs wide tracks, which were completely new and way stronger than the 3 studs wide tracks we had before. On top of that, it was the only LEGO set in history to include 2 power functions extra large motors. Under 4, we actually have 2 LEGO sets, 42099 and 42100, released just 2 months apart in 2019. The 42099 was the first and introduced the Control Plus system, which relies on smartphones and tablets to control LEGO sets, and which replaced the power function system with its infrared remotes. But I'm going to argue that it was the 42100 set which has truly demonstrated what the Control Plus system is capable of, including absolute positioning of the dinghy arm and the ability to record movements of the whole excavator. Besides, the 42100 was the first LEGO set licensed by the Liebherr company, a company with a lot of fans among Technic builders, and as of early 2021, it remains the LEGO set with the highest number of motors ever, 7. LEGO Technic sets that you can drive remotely are not that common, and they are usually designed to simply move around without any impressive driving performance. The 93-98 4x4 crawler set from 2012 was different. It was the first LEGO set built for maximum torque and off-road performance. There were fast LEGO RC sets before, but the 93-98 wasn't about speed. It brought a number of new elements to the table, including portal axle hubs, the power function's large motors, and the reinforced ball joints for live axles. But the biggest novelty was its ability to handle obstacles. For the first time ever, you could buy a LEGO set that wasn't just meant for the floor, and that could have been used in competitions and off-road sports. Even now, 9 years later, it remains the most off-roady LEGO set ever made, as other sets simply can't outperform it without modifications. Today we can program the latest LEGO Technic sets using the Power Functions app and a smartphone or tablet. But can you believe that the first programmable Technic set actually came out 30 years ago? In 1990, LEGO released the 1894 Control Center set, which included an advanced control panel along with pieces and instructions for 4 various models to build. These models included 2 plotters that could draw on paper, a driving one and a stationary one, plus a robotic arm that could pick and move objects around, and a mobile crane. Each of these included 2 motors and could have been programmed using the control panel with ability to record, store and execute a series of commands. Being able to program your LEGO creation with a few buttons was something incredible back in 1990, and it remains the simplest, easiest to use programming solution LEGO has ever made. And let's not forget that the Control Center also introduced the modern LEGO 9V motors, and that it was the first LEGO set to include more than one motor. 5 years later, LEGO would follow with a Control Center 2, one of the most acclaimed Technic sets ever, including 3 motors and using the same panel to control and program them. Sadly, we are still waiting for a Control Center 3. Some sets push the limits of what can be done with LEGO pieces so far that they remain unchallenged for years, without any newer sets trying to top them. I believe the most prominent example here is the legendary 8880 supercar set, which is considered by many as the holy grail of all LEGO supercars. I mean, sure, the Chiron and the Cyan may look way better, but the 8880 remains the only LEGO supercar to include an all-wheel drive and all-wheel steering with Ackermann geometry and a transmission with a central differential. On top of that, it was the first LEGO set to feature a synchronized transmission, the first LEGO supercar with a fully enclosed body, the first LEGO set with a V8 piston engine, and it still remains one of the very few LEGO sets in which the same wheels are driven, steered and suspended. There's a whole bunch of pieces here that were never used again in any other set, and the drivetrain is arguably still the most complex LEGO drivetrain ever built, even if you consider the 42's 110 Land Rover Defender set. Will LEGO ever try to top the 8880? That remains to be seen. Finally, I feel like there's one more Technic set deserving a special mention here. You see, after the 93-98 set was released, LEGO has decided to try something new and created a competition where people designed alternate bodies for the 93-98 chassis. The winner would see his creation turned into a brand new LEGO set. The competition was won by Igor, who runs the popular Brick Garage Armade channel on YouTube. Cheers, Igor! And his entry was turned into the 41999 set. But the really special thing was that the set was branded as an exclusive edition of the crawler and limited to just 20,000 copies, each with an individual number on the license plate. Long story short, many of these 20,000 copies were picked up by scalpers to be resold at a higher price. And many LEGO collectors were left with nothing just a few days after the set was initially released. To make things worse, because the set is basically just a modification of the original crawler, it seems that a lot of people bought it as an investment rather than to actually open it and build it. Today, 8 years after this set was released, there is still well over 100 of new unopened copies listed on Bricklink, with one seller claiming to actually have 18 of these. LEGO has never tried the limited edition Technic set thing again, and I think we are all better for it.